Okay, so let's look at this first one. It says if p is an odd integer, which of the following must also be an odd integer? Some of these words you might not be familiar with, you might have forgotten what they mean. We are going to review some of this stuff. Right now we're just kind of focusing on this first strategy. So if there's some things you don't remember, we are going to go over them. Odd, that means that it's not divisible by 2. And an integer just means it can be positive or negative, but not a decimal or a fraction. So when we pick a number for p, we want to make sure it follows that. So what would we want to pick for p? 3. 3 is probably the best one to pick. It's the smallest odd integer that you can pick without picking 1. Which of the following must also be an odd integer? So if we plug in 3 for p, 3 plus 1 is 4, which is not an odd integer. 3 over 2 is a fraction or a decimal, which is not an integer. 3 plus 2 is 5, which is an odd integer, so that one might be right. 2 times 3 is 6, which is not an odd integer. And 3 minus 1 is 2, which is not an odd integer. So luckily we only got one that worked. If you get more than one that works, then you want to go back and pick another number. And then out of those two, see which one it works in. Does that make sense? So did y'all get that one? C?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So you want to take your time on that one. That's that easy one where you don't want to rush through it trying to get to the medium or hard questions. If you don't get to the medium or hard, that's okay. You want to make sure that the ones you are answering in the easier you're getting right. Okay, so if y over 3 equals 6x, then in terms of y, x equals what? Okay, so again, variables in the answer choices, you've got those words in terms of y. This is a good plugging in question. You probably found when you started to do this that there were certain numbers that were easier to pick for x and y than others were. I would pick something for y, and you want to make sure that it's something that you can divide by 3. So what did you pick?
I put 6.
Okay, so if you picked 6 for y, then 6 over 3 is 2, right? Which is going to make x a fraction, right? And 6 times, you'd have to have a fraction to take 6 to 2. So I'm going to actually pick something a little bit bigger for y.
18.
Yeah, I would pick like at least 18. Because now when I plug in 18 divided by 3 is 6. So what would that make x? 1. So that's going to make that a little bit easier if you pick a bigger number for y. So that's kind of the thing. Sometimes when you plug in, the number you pick doesn't work very well, just start over again. Pick something that will make it work out nicer. So this is what we want to see. Which of these is going to give me 1 when I plug in 18 for y? Well, these are just going to get bigger. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 18 divided by 18, that's 1. So sometimes there are kind of restrictions on what you can pick. You want to make sure that what you pick works well in the problem. So that's why you need to practice. So you're going to get a hang of doing that. Okay, the last one, the hard one. Mary spilled 2/5 of her peanuts and Jessica ate 1/3 of what was left. Jessica then gave the peanuts to Max and Sam, who each ate half of what remained. What fractional part of Mary's peanuts did Sam eat? Okay, so this is kind of like that Mr. Hefwhistle pie problem, where you don't know how many he starts with, but you know how many are going away. This is the same idea. Instead of percents, it's fractions, but you want to pick what she starts with. So what did you pick?
10. 25. 10.
Okay, I hear 10, I hear 25. I'm just going to do 10. It doesn't really matter. It should work nicely as long as you pick a number that 5 will go into nicely, since you're having to do 2/5. So she spills 2/5. So she's going to lose 2/5 of her peanuts. So 2/5 of 10. So of means to multiply. So we're doing 2/5 times 10. 2/5 of 10. And so that should give you 4. So she spills 4. Now she's got 6 left. So these are the 4 that she spills. So then Jessica eats a third of those. So a third of 6. So Jessica eats 2. Which means there are 4 left. Then she takes those that are left and she gives them to Max and Sam, who each eat half. So Max gets 2 of those and Sam gets 2 of those. They split them. What fractional part of Mary's peanuts did Sam eat? So Sam ate 2 out of 10, or 1/5. So C. So again, if it talks about a fractional or a fractional portion of or percentage of an amount, but they don't give you any actual amounts, make one up and then work through the problem. Notice that I label everything and that I make everything really neat, well, kind of neat, as I go along so that I know what I'm doing. I read the whole problem and then I go back and read it one portion of it at a time. And that's what you want to do. Don't get overwhelmed by trying to think of everything all at once. Okay, so in your packet, at the very back, problem set 1 is over plugging in. Okay. If you look, it's got page 131 in the bottom corner, right here. But it says problem set 1, plugging in. And it's got 3 easy, 4 medium, and 3 hard. There's 10 questions in the set. I gave you the answer key to this on a separate sheet of paper. There's a whole bunch of answer keys. So work on those. If you have questions over those, I can answer them tomorrow or next week. But we're going to finish up this PowerPoint and this plugging in strategy tomorrow. All right. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.